It only lasted for so long. She didn't get that much money, and it came to like us, her supporting both of me and her smoking cigarettes. She was an alcoholic, and then I drank too, and she didn't care. So it was like supporting our cigarette habit, supporting our alcohol habit, putting a roof over our head, and feeding us was a lot. So growing up, seeing my mom when we were short on money, prostitute, I kind of just took it over. My mom always told me that I'm a moneymaker and I can use myself to survive, something along those lines. So I took it upon myself to prostitute. I was on Meet Me prostituting. Excuse me. I never let him take me home because I was very skeptical. I took a lot of risks. My grandma knew nothing about what I was doing. She probably had some kind of idea but didn't ask questions. So I would do it in their car. I wouldn't let them take me home. And, they paid more without a condom. And they paid more to, do their thing inside of you rather than on you. And I didn't like that anyway. And, the more, the merrier at that time. I was desperate in need. So I did that to be able to pay for, I used that to pay for money, or to pay for a roof over me and my grandmother's head, and to feed us. Half of it would go to food, and the other half majority of it I would use for the house, like to pay for a couple more nights, because, a couple $100 I could get 3-4 nights, then have a little extra money over for some food or some cigarettes, whatever. And then I got pregnant, and I got pregnant with my son, who is now 3. I was 17 when I got pregnant, and I got pregnant due to prostitution. That's always been something that I've really been ashamed of, because I didn't know how to tell people, but it happened. I wasn't careful and I wasn't thinking. I don't know why I didn't think I couldn't get pregnant, but I didn't think I could get pregnant. And it happened. And so then, like, at that time, I didn't tell anybody that that's how I got pregnant. And I think that if I would have spoke up and let somebody know that that's how I got pregnant, I could have avoided having to grow up or raise a child due to that, because my beliefs are, I never wanted to have kids, never. I don't even like dudes like that, and that's another reason why, because I just have this nasty view of men because of the prostitution that I did, all the abuse that my mom went through. I was sexually abused when I was little, and it all consisted of men, So I just have this view of men that they only like to hurt women, they like to use women, it's all for sex. I just have a lot of beliefs about men. But anyway, I never wanted to have kids. I told my mom from day one I was never having kids, I was never going to get married, and I was going to have a parent that talked to me so I wouldn't be lonely. Deadass serious. That's what I told my mom. And then, shit happened. But I just, now I'm living with the consequence. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But, so that happened. I lied to everybody and told them that it was this other kid's baby, when I knew deep down that it wasn't, but I was kind of hoping, because it was like sex around the same time. I thankfully have no STDs. I still get checked every like 6 months because I'm paranoid. And I don't even have sex like that. But anyway, I'm paranoid. I have no STDs, thank God. I got really lucky. I got really lucky that I never got kidnapped or beat or, any of that. That's a dangerous thing to do. I took a big risk. So I lied to everybody and told them that I thought it was this dude's that I deep down inside knew wasn't, but really, really hoped it was. Until I found out how far along I was, and then I knew for a fact that it wasn't, but I had already told everybody that it was, so I had to go along with it. Once the baby was born, it was very obvious it was not his. This was the white dude, and my son is like black, and I believe that his dad was Mexican. I believe that whoever it was that I slept with was Mexican. And there was a couple Mexican guys that I slept with, so I feel like that's what it was. It was very obvious that was not my baby, or that he was not his baby. They look nothing alike. Thankfully, he looks a lot like me. So, having to deal with all of that, being pregnant, 17, homeless, having nowhere to go, no job, no money, all of that, it was just very stressful. So I just took it upon myself to tell myself, like, you did this, you're gonna take care of this baby, and you're gonna get it through. Granted, I was on meth. I didn't want to have this baby deep down inside, but I didn't want to tell anybody that I didn't want to have the baby because I was ashamed of how I had the baby. And so I was smoking meth heavily, lost a lot of weight during my pregnancy. I smoked meth until I was about 5 months pregnant. So I was hoping I'd have a miscarriage, which never happened. Everything happens for a reason, right? So I was talking to my mom on the phone when she was in prison. I told her that I wanted to kill myself, and she told me that she was calling the cops on me and hung up on me. And I thought, yeah, right, how are you going to call the cops on me? You're in jail. Ouch. Well, I don't know how it happened, but it happened. About 20-30 minutes later, there was a knock on the hotel room door, and it was the police. And they were asking me questions like, if we leave you right now, are you going to hurt yourself? And I was like, well, I can, or I might, So they took me to hospital. I went to United Hospital, and I was there for 2-3 weeks. After I got out of there, I was still smoking meth. I think I was only like 2-3 months. I was losing a lot of weight. Up until I was close to 5 months. I think I was 20 or 21 weeks when I stopped doing all drugs. I turned 18 right before I had my baby. A couple months after I had him, I was probably like 3-4 months when I turned 18. Granted you, this was my 18th birthday, my golden birthday that I was planning since the day I was like 14. Super max, I couldn't do anything that I planned because I was fucking pregnant, So me and my grandma finally got a place. About 3-4 months before I had the baby. We moved in December. Yeah, December. And no, we moved in January, and I had my baby in April. My due date was April 20th, and I had him right on the 20th. How ironic, right? That was a sign to me. My grandpa, who passed away in 2012, March 31st, his birthday was April 29th, and my due date was April 20th. I had Christopher on April 20th at 4:29 p.m. Tell me that's not a sign. That is a fucking sign. It's like mind-blowing. So where was I? So we finally got a place. My sister was on drugs really bad. She was very abusive to me because her mental disability came out and was like horrible. She would throw things at me and tell me she'd hope that my baby would die. She was just very, very icky, rotten, nasty, mean to me. And it sucked to see her like that. But she let the drugs take over her life. And when she didn't have drugs, she acted like that versus when she did have drugs. when she did have drugs, she wasn't anything like that. She was a very nice, sweet, my sister. Or, you know, it was just weird. She was just different, you know. Meth really turns you into a monster. So after I had my son, I got drunk the day I came home from the hospital, smoked weed the day I came home from the hospital. I had a lot of people over to see the baby. I got overwhelmed because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and I was doing it by myself. And, you know, I got drunk. He was circumcised. I had a boy, you know how they get circumcised, and I don't know if anyone has kids that's watching, but when they get circumcised, they're like, it's like fucking traumatic for them, you know? So that was really rough. And then I think after a week, I was home. I was like, I'm just gonna smoke meth one time, you know? Because it was like my baby slept all day long and was up all night. So, you know, when you smoke meth, you're up all day and you're up all night. So it kind of just I thought it kind of worked out for me, but you know how that goes. So that was that. We eventually got evicted because my sister was there and all her friends were over there and they were careless. Because what tweaker really cares about somebody? They don't. They care about the drugs and they'll do anything to get it, and they don't give a fuck about what happens after. So that happened, so we moved back into a hotel. We were in the hotel for 3 months. My grandma got into a senior high-rise. My sister got into her own place, and there was just me. So my grandma snuck me into her senior high-rise, me and the baby, and it was like 12 days before my son turned 1, somebody called CPS on me. I was 19, so I was freaking out. They were going to take my kid and all this stuff. And they didn't take him. They gave me a lot of cushion. They told me that I had to do my Rule 25 and go to treatment within a certain amount of days. I think it was 3 weeks, and I was in treatment in 2 weeks. So that was good. I went to treatment up in Moore, Minnesota. I went to Recovering Hope. I was there for 5 months. I made a lot of cool friends out there, and I'm still in touch with some of them, not all of them. I fell off with a lot of them because I relapsed. But, so after that, I was even homeless. I was supposed to be there for 6 months, and I wasn't supposed to graduate until late November, and they graduated me September 28th, and it was like a last minute thing. Like, first day I believe that was a Friday that I graduated, and they told me that Tuesday I was graduating Friday. So it was really fucked up. So that really just fucked everything up for me. I had nowhere to go, so where did I go? Oh, I had a couch hop. So I still had CPS, still had to take UAs. I went to my sister's house, who could only have overnights 2 or 3 nights out of the week and could only have visitors until 11. So she snuck me in. For them 3 days were my 3 days to go out and about and do things as to try to get into a shelter. I started donating plasma so I can get money to go get formula, food, all that stuff. And then the other 4 days out of the week, I had to stay up in her apartment and be very quiet and pretend I wasn't there. Kind of a deal. And that was really hard for me too, because I still had to take UAs, and I still had CPS, and my sister was still smoking meth, smoking weed, getting drunk, all that stuff. So it was really hard for me to stay sober when I was living with somebody who wasn't sober. And I really did test the waters. I tested the waters a lot, and I smoked weed. Thankfully, I didn't get a UA because I got into a shelter in Wisconsin within like a week. Let's see. Yeah, so I graduated in September, and I think because I was still in the color code, and I graduated early, and I had to wait for my CPS worker to put me back on the color thing. And by that time, I was already in Wisconsin, so she closed my case. I got into a shelter in Wisconsin. I went to the family place, I believe. No, that's not what it's called. Grace Place is what it was called. And I met this girl named Ashley, who was sober. She was a year younger than me. I thought Tina was the love of my life, but this relationship was healthy at the time. And Ashley and I were together on and off for 2 years. And I feel like it was mostly me who fucked it up the first time around. The second time around, she fucked it up. I really thought that she was going to be the one, and I thought we were going to live our lives together. We got an apartment together. Things were good. I had a lot of fun with her. She made me laugh. I didn't feel like I was in competition with anybody else. And it was awesome. And so that happened. So first time we dated, I cheated on her. Then she cheated on me after. Well, we cheated on each other at the same time, ironically. I just told her I cheated on her first, and then she was like, well, that's okay, because I cheated on you too. So it was kind of just like, what the fuck, you know? So then things got rocky with our relationship there. I was drinking alcohol really bad because I moved to Wisconsin, so I didn't know anybody out there who I could get weed from, so I just drank a lot. I drank a lot. Like every night for like the first like 5 or 6 months we were together, I was drunk. So yeah, so there was that. We broke up. I moved back home. I got kicked out of the shelter. I got kicked out of the shelter, and then I moved back home for a couple weeks, and then we got our own place. We moved to Menominee, Wisconsin. I lived out there with her for a couple months, and then the whole cheating on each other thing happened. And then after that, like, we both made a commitment to that it wasn't gonna happen ever again and all this stuff. I followed through with what I said to her. She, on the other hand, did not. She was talking about how she wanted to have all these guys. She was talking to all these guys about how she wanted to get them pregnant, or how she wanted them to get her pregnant. So all this other really fucked up shit. So then I moved home. It's like, fuck it, I'm moving home. I was moving home. I wasn't really depressed because I think it was more or less I just used her for a place to stay. I don't think it was really genuine at that time. Moved home, stayed with my grandma for like 3 weeks, and then I had to move. So I stayed with my big sister Shalonda on my dad's side for 2 months. And let me tell you, those were like the best 2 months that I ever had. I bonded really well with her. I got really close with her and my sister Jemiah and my nieces and my nephews, and I miss them a lot, and I'm just really glad that she's a big role model to me. She is one person that I look up to. If I ever need anything, she's always there for me, and I greatly appreciate her, and I love her. So I stayed with her for 2 months, and then I got into the shelter downtown St. Paul called the Family Place. I was there I got in there May, and I left in August. I left in August because, ouch, Ashley came back into my life. Coincidental, huh? And this is a really long video. Hopefully everyone watches all the way through. But anyway, the fuck was I gonna say? Oh, I left because Ashley came back. and she still had our apartment. When I left the first time, I messaged emailed the landlord and let her know that I wanted my name off the lease and I was leaving. That breakup was really bad the first time because I only left because of the things she was doing. I tried to like break it off and just be on a friendship level with her, but then she got like very petty and was not throwing things, but like, you know, being really, really shady with me and doing certain things and saying certain things that just pissed me the fuck off. And I just really wanted to beat her ass, but I didn't, you know. I left. I went and moved upstairs with a friend, a mutual friend of ours. Moved upstairs with her. Her name was Darian. I lived with her for 2 weeks before somebody came and got me. And then I moved back home. Then I went to the shelter. I was there, and I met some really cool people at the shelter that I'm still friends with. One of them watches my videos. Shout out to you, Megan, and Crystal, and Nell. Those are my homegirls, and I love them. Those are my sisters. Those are my family. I love them. They're like the big sisters that I've never had. Well, that's a lie, because I have sisters. But anyway, you know what I mean. I spent a lot of time with them. I was still smoking weed. After I got out of treatment, when I was 19, I didn't smoke meth anymore, but I did smoke weed and drink alcohol because I thought I went to a treatment for marijuana. For meth, it don't matter if I smoke marijuana or drink alcohol. That lasted for about a year, I think. I relapsed on meth. My sober date was April 10th, and 2018, I relapsed in April on my year. So it was like that one time, and then like a couple months later, I think while I was still in the shelter, I smoked one time, went back to shelter and was really high. Every weekend I left the shelter, I got drunk. I smoked weed every day even while I was at the shelter. I took a big chance with that. I was this close to getting my own place, and I was good. And then I actually came back, and I fell into her trap, and moved back home with her, thinking things were going to be good. And they were going good. They were going really good. She proposed to me on her birthday, and we got engaged. We were going to get married, you know, had like this whole big scenario of what our lives were going to be like, and it didn't last very long because of my drinking. My drinking really ruined our relationship because I wasn't on my meds, and I got really irritable with her for like no reason. And when I got drunk, I was either really angry with her or I was fucking crying to the point where she was like, you just need to go to bed, you know? So I think I personally fucked that up, but it doesn't give her any excuses as to what she did and how we broke up. She cheated on me so that I would leave, and that's what's fucked up, you know, because you don't have to do that to somebody. You don't have to cheat on them so they'll leave. You know, you could break up with me like a normal person would break up with somebody, you know. It would have been a lot different. I was very sad, moved back home to my grandma's, was very sad. I woke up crying, went to sleep crying. I was depressed, and I hated my life. It was really terrible. 2-3 weeks after I came home, my mom got her own place, and so it was me, my mom, and her boyfriend. I was on the lease this time. I could actually be there. It was actually my home, you know, so I had a roof over my head for a little bit. Once I moved to the house, I got drunk like every day, smoked a lot of weed, and my mom's boyfriend was sober off meth as well, and I still hung out with people who smoked meth. but didn't smoke. I got too close to the cage to see if the tiger would bite me or not, and the tiger bit the fuck out of me. Bit the fuck out of me. So on my 21st birthday, I got super shit-faced, and the people that I was with was smoking. So I was like throwing up and really sick and just miserable, so I smoked to try to sober myself up, which it kind of worked, you know. I was drunk when I hit it, and I wasn't drunk anymore when I got home. Then after that was when like things got bad. My mom worked overnight and had 2 jobs, so Friday and Saturday she was gone and came home Sunday at 7 a.m. So Friday and Saturday, it started out of me only getting drunk, and then I brought friends around, and then my stepdad, my mom's boyfriend, was wanted to get high too, you know, so we made an agreement to get high on the low and keep it from my mom. And he didn't tell, I didn't tell. Which didn't last for very long. Mind you, my birthday's in October. By December, I was fucked. My whole life was fucked up. For them couple months, my life was shitty. I dated a really good friend of mine. His name is Austin. You know, if you look back at my patterns, my relationships with guys are when I'm fucked up, and I'm fucked up the entire time, except for the time I lost my virginity. And I don't even date guys like that. I think I had just 2 boyfriends, really. 3 boyfriends, whatever. But yeah, anyway, he was my good friend. We were friends for a long time, and he was there for me when I got sexually assaulted. And mind you, dude lived in the apartment. The guy that raped me lived in the apartment building. So it was really hard for me to go smoke a cigarette, to go check the mail. I ordered food and couldn't go get it, things like that. So he was just kind of there for me, and was a good friend to me at that time. So so it was him, my friend, Brittany, and me, and a bunch of other of us. And he just used me for a place to stay. Lied to me about things. I'd wake up and he'd be gone, and he was with somebody else, and then that's when this is what they call it here, core beliefs came in of I'm not good enough, there's somebody out there that's better than me, I'm worthless, and you know, them kind of things. I let them thoughts really get in my head, so I smoked a lot of meth. Was up for days, like thought I was up for 24 hours, and it was really like 5 days. Smoked a lot of meth, kind of a thing. My mind was going like 50 miles an hour, wouldn't stop. Yeah, and by December 14th, mind you, I started my GED classes December 3rd. That's something I've always wanted to do, is get my GED so I can go to school for cosmetology, and I was doing it. I started my GED classes on the 3rd, and then, sorry, my arm hurts.